on paper.
Yeah.
So and it's kind of like these people who have absolutely no clue
Yeah.
what's going on and have like come up with the same situations where you have to pay the collecting society if you're putting your own music on your own website.
Yeah.
Like there's a problem
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
organization how they deal,
Yeah.
but the idea that they are necessarily like monopolistic and thus bad
Yeah.
might not necessarily hold.
Yeah, I agree. The monopoly has a convenience, one agency you talk to, and in some ways the way they work is not that bad. There's one remark about what I would like to add. Small artists get paid the same amount as big artists. However, there's also the so-called payola. Radio stations, especially in America, get paid from big labels to have certain tracks played on the radio for promotion. So that also gives the big artists an advantage.
Yeah, just to add up on that, but we have a basic problem that that collecting societies do not want to make any grounds. I think that Paul has made the same experience in his talks, and I have made the same experience in Croatia. So I think that something's got to give. So that's basically a situation where we have an antagonism, and that some things won't change before they are put into question, or before the paradoxes start to emerge on a grander scale. So I think that yeah, we should strive maybe to transform the collecting societies system, but it doesn't seem likely because they are basically very old people, and they think that Napster was the first stealing of money, and that YouTube is the next one, and they see this as something which shouldn't be. So they are sort of really out of sync, and from my personal context, I see very little grounds on how to bring them to the reality that is around them.
I have to agree with you and the previous speaker. It's also our experience. Some of our organizations says that, well, you have some points, so we're going to do about it, and then they don't do anything about it. They're out of sync. They can't adapt to the changing society with internet and peer-to-peer, and they stick to their old values. Like I said, they're not necessarily evil. They're just unable to grasp reality. So, could you talk to the microphone if you...
I have a question. There... Just a quick one. In the U.S., there's something called the Do-It-Yourself DIY conference for music. Is there anything like that in Europe where well, it pretty much explains itself?
I know that there are some small groups trying to organize their own conferences. We had some organized by, say, Creative Commons, by pop organizations. So there are some small initiatives on that. Not really big, but the good thing is that the traditional organizations like representatives of record labels and of RIA and things like that were willing to talk at those events. So they were quite helpful in some ways. So.
Do you know any by name?
No, not by, no.
I wanted to say something about the GEMA, the German GEMA. You say they are stupid, but I think they are smart, and they hack the system in a way that the majority of those are over 50, and they all come from, or the majority come from a Volksmusik and Schlager background. And in about 2001, they changed the system, and they really get a lot of money out of it. And especially the people that are in the Schlager and Volksmusik, they make about 200,000 in some cases, 200,000 euro. Yeah, and so they hack the system in a way. And another question was about sampling. I mean, because especially in hip-hop music, there is maybe 40% sampling in the beats, and Dr. Dre and other artists and beat makers sample a lot, and I don't think that that's going to change. So, you know.
I agree, and I hope that it still will be available and possible, yeah.
I just wanted to know if you ever think about to collaborate with telco operators. You know, we talk about the negative aspect of some generation before, but let's talk about the positive aspect of new generation. And they are using a lot SMS. And sometimes for stupid purpose, like Star Academy in France. But why do not try to use this way to try to finance your song sometime?
Yeah.
And making collaboration with telco can maybe provide you a way to raise money because it's more secure than PayPal and so on.
That's actually an interesting idea. Payment via SMS is an alternative. Distributing music via SMS is an alternative. But at the moment, especially for small labels like us, it's still very expensive. There's a very high basic fee and very high transaction fees, I think up to 60% or even more. But yes, I agree that would be interesting alternatives. But for the moment, unfortunately, still very expensive. Could you talk to the microphone, please?
I
Yeah.
I wonder what's the difference between your company and Magnatune.
I think there are many similarities, and I think we're very much inspired by Magnatune. We actually accidentally discovered, we were thinking about setting up our net label, and we're thinking about using Creative Commons, and we were doing this, and we were setting up things, and then we discovered that Magnatune has been doing the same thing before us. And then Magnatune has been a very big inspiration for us, and have been much more advanced than us. So basically, we're not that different from them, except that they have more experience. The way that we wanted to start, we started actually because we also wanted to promote our own music of the bands that we know and that we like. But in a way, we're not that different. We also have some contacts with Magnatune. We've talked to the people who started Magnatune, and they're really, really great people, have similar ideas like us, and a really great vision. So I can recommend the grounder of Magnatune has a blog about these things, and it's recommended reading. So.
I get the impression that the basic problem seems to be the payment problem, that you try to emerge a system like peer-to-peer from artist to a consumer or hearer of the music, and that the main problem is that you haven't got a comfortable way to pay the music that you want to hear. The things you said about what you try to do to promote your music or get airplay or something like that reminds me of that you try to use the, I'd like to say, old system of music industry, or you try to penetrate the old system of music industry to get your funds. But wouldn't it be more in your sense or more in your philosophy to find new ways of distributing your music or bringing the audience and the musician together?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a very important thing. We do still sell CDs because the majority of people find it most convenient to just simply buy CDs. But we are indeed looking at alternative systems, like I said, internet communities for promotion, peer-to-peer maybe used for distribution of our music, and we are examining it. We have some ideas, but we're not there yet. We still have to think about it. We have to brainstorm about it. And yes, it's a work in progress, like I said, but that's indeed what we're trying to do, an alternative system, not just by penetrating the old system, but penetrating the old system is unavoidable. We do have to have some of it still here. So.
Adding to this, how would you like the idea of a somewhat centralized donation portal which would operate non-proficiently, where people can directly donate to the artists perhaps inside Europe you could just do this with bank transactions without any overhead. And well, what do you think about this idea?
I think that would be actually that would be not a bad idea. If especially if you not just have one central place where you can donate to artists, but also one central place where you can download from artists. So you would have one central point. You can
for Creative Commons, you might want to have a look at Yamendo, which is trying to establish such a central place.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. Talk to me afterwards, please.
Okay.
I mean, that sounds interesting. Thanks. So, I think time's about up. Okay, thanks everyone. And I'll talk to me. Yeah. I'll be here at the CCC Congress the next days. I'll be probably will be spending around the corner at the notorious Aquaville. Just if you want to have the remarks, just talk.